Welcome to Women Talking Soccer. I'm your host, Carrie Taylor. The goal of this podcast is to amplify the voices of all women who love the beautiful game. Whether you're on the field, cheering from the stands, work in the business, want to work in the business, or are a passionate change maker, your voice is important. This podcast is presented by Women in Soccer. Women in Soccer is a network of women and allies involved in our favorite sport. You can join Women in Soccer for free online at womeninsoccer.com. Our first few podcasts will be highlighting the founders and board members of this new amazing group. So today we are joined with Rachel LaSala, and she is I'm probably going to get the title wrong, but she is our project manager, kick-ass woman, keeps us all connected, wrangles the cats in. And I'm super excited to have Rachel on today. Rachel, can you give our listeners more about you, your background in the game, and kind of tell everyone how you got involved in soccer in the first place?
Yeah, sure. Carrie, thank you so much. What you are doing is incredible. I'm Rachel LaSala, as Carrie mentioned. I'm a marketer by trade. I earned my BBA here in New York at Pace University in marketing and management, and had a background in the B2B tech world and in the marketing industry for 4 to 5 years. And I've transitioned to this incredible journey in working in sport for development from a consultant perspective. And the game of soccer has been in my life since I was 4 years old. I was one of the tots running around in Long Island where I grew up. Originally on a co-ed team, which was a fun experience. Coach Kevin was the first coach I had, but it was a blast. And as that continued through life, it competitively up through high school, but stopped at college when academia came in and took the stronghold. But from there, I've played recreationally and kept it alive in the fire of my belly, as well as coaching here in the youth area in Brooklyn for a couple of years, and wherever I can, helping out with different small local programming, because I love this sport and it has the power to, as we all know, transcend the field and make some not only incredible connections, but incredible impacts for people. So the game has been a powerful element for me in my life, and staying connected with friends, but also, like I said, becoming a part of my work and career journey in the coaching world, and now in the last 20 months or so, this incredible endeavor working in promoting more women in this game, but also promoting the women's game as well. So that's a bit of the it's a little bit about me. I mean, I'm an aunt and a sister, and a lot of other facets as well. And I sometimes forget that, but soccer and the game are pretty priority right now in my world.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing, part of who you are. And before we dive into the meat of this new Women in Soccer network, can you explain maybe some of the challenges within the game that you've either had to go through or you've seen other women go through, and just kind of talk about some of the things that women come across within soccer?
Absolutely. Firstly, the first thing that comes to mind is stories I've heard, as well as can relate to, around feeling like the only one. What I came into a youth club and was the first female head coach. The club had been around for about 10 years, and yet I was the first female or woman that's a head coach, I should say, trying to get better with gender and
Right.
sex there. But that just kind of highlighted the reality that, yes, we want more women in this game, but what are we doing to prioritize supporting them in the environments, like in coaching positions? But not only that, I've watched colleagues and the founder of this organization tell her stories time and time again of what it's like to go through years and years of seeing certain things be put up for offer, but again, not getting that full and total support. And I also think about the organizations that are trying to build support in for coaches, or even bringing more women into the front office. And they're doing their best, and they're expanding, and they're trying to continue to learn, but even they have room for development and to continue to do better. And I think that comes into the space of expansion beyond the field. beyond just, okay, how do I hire someone and how do I ensure that they have all the tools they need to do the job? It goes to the mental and psychological components of who we are as people and how are we influenced by the culture we've been surrounded by, and what do we have to re-examine. Carrie, you and I have been talking through this pandemic over the last few months. It's been a massive shift for this country and the world, as we know. But that time to re-examine and slow down and acknowledge what hasn't been working has been given to us. And I really think the game has the power to use that analysis and put it to work, because it can give you this common conversation and common ground to have that conversation. So the realities of the challenges are ever present, but I think we have this unique opportunity to build forward with a new sense of awareness that, this incredible pandemic has put upon us. And again, they're not new challenges, not new challenges with the lack of support within professional growth opportunities, but lack of visibility of more women surrounding people, and women inside of the clubs as well as inside of the institutions around soccer. But also when it comes to things like race and the LGBTQI communities, and how are we really expanding our lenses uh, to welcome all people into these spaces are the areas that I've seen some significant and evident challenges that I know you yourself have witnessed, and
Right.
you're aware of as well. So I think those are some of the things that stay heavily present on my mind. And as a woman in the game, I've experienced it slightly in the coaching space, but also as a professional in the tech world when
Right.
there was a similar sentiment. So it's not unique only to soccer, but I think it's a larger it is a larger cultural awareness that we've all been trying to push forward.
Yeah, exactly. You touched on so many pieces of it. And I think, that's what's amazing about this Women in Soccer network and the need for it and the collaboration within it, and not only framing it, beyond just coach player, but all the aspects: fan, front office worker, supporter, Sunday soccer player, all of that. So can you tell our listeners a little bit more about how Women in Soccer was formed, and why you got involved, and kind of what your role is within the organization?
Yeah, I'd love to. I love this project. I love this organization for what it's trying to do. The organization came to be through, I mean, if you really go all the way back, the moment Courtney came to New York, met Maria Mernan, and started her journey. But really, more poignantly, last year after we went to a summit in Athens promoting the film that Courtney Levinson, the founder, had made, Coach, around Tracy Ham, we met Abreu and the women in football team, and we saw what they were doing to help forward the movements for women in the game in Europe.
Mhm.
And we thought, the US has been spearheading on the women's side of the game for years. We know the energy from the Niners has reigned through all of us and helped propel this game across the world. So how come we're not still there yet? Why don't we do this here in the States? And so that's where the juices started flowing, probably about a year ago, almost to the date. And I had come on board kind of quite serendipitously. I mentioned I was working in tech for 4 years and have been doing this for about not a year and a half. And that's because I had gotten laid off.
Mhm.
And that was the first time I ever got laid off, and hopefully the last, but who knows where life will take you.
Right.
So it was a huge moment to reflect. Similarly with this year, it's been quite transformative the last 2 years of my life, but that moment allowed me to expand and see what other opportunities were around me. And Maria, who I knew from playing recreationally on the pitch here in Brooklyn, said, "Rachel, we've just finished this documentary, and you would love this. You love to organize, you love to market. How do we get you here?" And so I got on board, back in March 2019, and then by the end of last year, upon meeting the women in football team, this idea started to take off. And we then continued to learn more and more about the similarities that we were talking through before. And then you start to bring in more women and hear their stories. And not only is it lack of professional support or lack of visibility because you're the only one in the space, but then it's the stories of the harassment, and maybe it didn't happen in the soccer realm, but it's happened elsewhere. So now,
Right.
how do you handle manipulation that you felt in the past, and how do you bring it forward to be something else, right? There's a great quote, and I think it's Maya Angelou, but it's getting at the sentiment of, you might get challenged, you might be changed by many things, but you can refuse to be defeated by it, and you can refuse to let it reduce you. And I think that sentiment, and then the opportunity to celebrate the beauty of the where women are in this game, is what has fueled developing this organization and made me so excited to be here. So I've been given this really unique opportunity to take my marketing and business management background, as well as my love of this game, to lead us in this managing director type title. But titles are for what? It's really just like you said, helping to get everyone together and
You wrangle all of us.
keep us moving forward.
Keep us rowing in the right direction. And we thank you.
We do it together. It is so much of a team effort. All of the incredible minds that come to this table are what allow this to work and make it fun and enjoyable to get up every day and say, hey, okay, here's the plan, and let's keep moving forward. And we're new and we're learning every single day. So how do we keep trudging forward? So building us one day at a time and pushing our ship in the right direction as much as I can is really where I sit in this place. But I'm really grateful to be a part of this team.
Yeah, and we're lucky to have you leading us in the right direction, along with
Thanks,
Courtney and all the rest of the wonderful people who are involved at the core. So can you talk about why someone should join Women in Soccer, and who can, and how does someone get involved, and what that involvement could potentially mean for someone who's like, okay, I want to find out more about this. How do I get involved? What can I get out of this? And just kind of summarize the whole onboarding process, I guess.
Yeah, sure thing. So from the perspective of someone who's a college student, let's say you're a woman that's in college and you're really eager to expand outside of just your college network. You can go onto our website, womeninsoccer.org, check out the various profiles. I would say likely the community profile is a great fit for you. And that's one that just allows you to celebrate your love of this game, but also really soak up a lot of the knowledge and programming that's going to be available through our platform, and dig your teeth in. And it's completely free. So you jump in and you'd make your profile, which turns into your Brad player card, and then you're able to search this network. And let's say you want to find a mentor in broadcasting, so you can search through and see what other members are in our network, and maybe there's an expert member that has a panel upcoming, that be it within the Women in Soccer Network, or maybe they're promoting it on another podcast they're joining, or on our podcast that they're joining, or another event. But the idea is you can come in as that college student and engage in the membership network to find that next person that could help steer you in a certain direction, or even find another friend that's maybe around the corner or maybe on the other side of the country. So the opportunity is wherever you are in this country, and we want to help further the access as well, knowing that everyone has the best bandwidth or access to Wi-Fi. So those are future endeavors, but the idea is it's a digital platform to try to provide as much reach for you to join. Now, let's say you're a man in your 20s or early 30s, and you play recreationally, and you have a really big passion for what how to forward the women's movement that are going on, and you also love this game, and you see your female friend, your friends that are women on the pitch with you, and you're like, how do I help support you? Well, there is an ally membership that
Mhm.
welcomes you into the space, and if you want to continue to learn how to be a better ally for women and help support furthering women in this game, you can come into this space. And let's say you also work in marketing at a marketing agency, and you know that there are job opportunities within that marketing agency, and because women that are surrounded and engage in this game learn so many incredible skill sets, you want them to have the opportunity to be seen and be visible in more roles. You can share that job post with us, and we will put it up on our job board within our member portal. And then one of the last two membership profiles I'll explain quickly uh, is the expert profile. And that's someone like Carrie Taylor, who has this incredible experience as a professional coach, as a consultant, as a mentor, and wants to come into our network to give back and to help bring more women forward and share that knowledge. And not only that, but be celebrated, because Carrie, you deserve applause for such a long time for the work and the triumph that you've had to get where you are. And you are a constant example of learning and expanding and staying open-minded. Your hat speaks volumes to that right now. Her hat says Black Lives Matter, for those of you that are listening and not visually able to see us right now. But those are the women that we want to come in and see them be experts in our space, because furthering visibility across the board for women, of course, but especially for those women that are marginalized and under threat, and getting them the access they deserve is a massive priority, especially for me and especially for this organization. And the last thing I'll say is that all of these profiles are free. And if you're an organization and you want to come in, there's a partner member profile on our website as well. You can check that out, and we will follow up with a conversation to talk more about where your goals align with ours and what amazing things we can help do when we collaborate together.
Well, first of all, Rachel, thank you for the very kind words. That was very, very sweet of you. I might have blushed a little bit.
It's well deserved.
And I am empowered and inspired not only by you, but of the people that have, that you and Courtney have put together to come in on the ground level. And as I've progressed in my career, a lot of times I've been the only one, like you said, you were the first female coach in your club. Like, there's so many times that we as women have walked into rooms and we're there by ourselves. And, honestly, it gets draining to continue to just feel like you're by yourself in your own silo. And, part of the reason why I wanted to get involved with this network is not only is it so needed, it's just there's so many of us out there doing great work, but we're in our own little silos. So whether, the different levels of access, the different levels or the different membership types is just such a uniting force. We can't move forward without allies. We can't move forward without organizations that,
Right.
Are raising the profile. We can't move forward without highlighting all the different roles of people who are already in the business, and we can't move forward without getting more women within the business. And the hope is that 5 years from now, that we're not having these same conversations about
Right.
the same challenges that people are trying to overcome. Like, and like, I'm honored to be involved with this organization, and I want to help just yell from the rooftops, like, get involved, even if it's, coming into the network and you meet one person who can help you through a struggle that you're having, or who can help you, practice your interview skills, or, like, if we can each just connect people and help one person, then our network grows and our power grows and our voice grows. And, that's the thing that fires me up, because this is a network that I wish I would have had 20 years ago. And so,
but you're fostering it now for those coming up behind you. And you nailed it. That power of the collective is invaluable. Reaffirming every day something positive for yourself.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but it's not. It's so important. And it's those are the small moments that get you to that next level. We've been saying level up. And
Right.
it's interesting as I've met more and more women and we've brought more incredible women into this network. I keep telling myself it's time to level up. It's time to
Yeah.
level up. And there's another quote that comes to mind. And I know I'm going to have to tell you a quote too, so I'll pick a different one. But there's a quote that comes to mind about if you hang out with chickens, you cluck, and if you hang out with eagles, you fly. And it's one of those that makes me smile when I think about it, but there is so much truth behind that simple concept. Surrounding yourself with people that can keep you moving up will help you, and reminding yourself that you deserve that. You deserve to be around the people that make you remind you of who the best parts of you are, and how you can be the better version of you that you want to be. Not that
Right.
society tells you to be, but that you want to be, I think is so critical for women and people at all different parts of their life. And especially
Right.
for those, like we mentioned, that are under threat and that don't get that for themselves because society says otherwise, and don't get those reminders because maybe their household doesn't have that type of support for them. And these organizations can lend those small things. And to your point, maybe it's February. Maybe February is the month where you need women in soccer more than ever, and you need to hop on to our listen into our podcast. But then maybe you need a break for a little bit, but you tune in casually, and that's okay too. It's really about being a hub that people can come to and understand that this is a space they can get that refueling from.
Right. Right. Can you talk a bit about, I know there's like 4 core values and a couple of different, themes or silos that the focus will kind of be built around in the first year. Can you kind of take us through those?
Yeah, sure thing. So when I think about our values, and you would pose what value might be one that's really prominent or something a favorite of mine. It was hard for me to come up to that conclusion. But firstly, our values are inclusion, passion, action, and grit. And we take all of those and we think of them into 3 pillars: access, social responsibility, and opportunities. And that's how we build from that lens going forward. How do we take our values and implement into the 3 pillars that we want our programming to push forward? So those values are near and dear to my heart. And I really ride strongly with inclusion. And I go back and forth between action and grit, because you can't have grit if you don't have action. So I'll take those 3 especially. But the power of really understanding what inclusion means and how, in order to create it, you need to take action. You mentioned, 20 years ago, you would have loved to have this type of an organization. Well, we're able to have this organization now, I think, in part because of how much work has been done by women pioneering for these 20 years. And now it's time for us to do another leveling up. It's amazing to see the women that are in these spaces, but most of these women, evident in our conversation right here, are white and maybe more affluent. So
Right.
how do we continue to push forward these agendas beyond, just the forefront of gender equity, but all women? So that inclusion value stands really strong in what I'm doing. And I have to tote our content producer, who goes by Pip Penman. Her first name is Catherine, but her name is Pip in the best way. And she is a driving force with her gender studies background. And that is something that every day I am appreciative of what she brings to the table. So Pip, shout out to you. But those 4 pillars and those 3 pillars especially are a stronghold in my world and in my frame each day I come to women in soccer.
Yeah, well, thank you for prioritizing your core values and how they can, further impact the network. I think in thinking about mine, grit always kind of comes to mind for myself, but the inclusion piece is something that we all need to work on daily. And during COVID, it's been, for me, I've been reading a lot. I've been watching, I've been trying to re-educate myself on how to change some of the systems and change some of the uh, structures. And the only way to do it is to be to do it with intention. Yeah. And to really take a deep look at yourself and figure out, like, okay, you can't just talk about core values. You can't just talk about, oh, let's be inclusive. You can't just talk about it. You have to actually walk the walk. And, right. That's something that, I'm continuing to learn from you and Pip and everyone else every day is to just take that pause and be like, okay, I need to go outside my own frame of reference and really be intentional about each and everything that we do within our space. And so, that's something that we can all hold each other accountable for and raise and level up, like you said, level all of us up in that way, so that all of the data is, can change 5 years from now about, what are the number of coaches? What are the number of GMs? What is the demographic? Where are they from? What are their backgrounds? What's the ethnicity? All of it is, those numbers have to continue to change. But the only way they change is by doing it, within the systems and doing it intentionally. So that's
well said, Carrie. Well said.
Well, thank you for that. So we're starting to wind down. Are there any pieces of advice that you would like to give to a young woman, who wants to get into the game, whether it be in any of the jobs, as an athletic trainer, as a coach, as a marketer? What are some words of wisdom that you can pass along to someone who's thinking about entering into the business, or who maybe just got into the business?
Keep going. That's this phrase in my mind right now. Keep going. We've come so far, and women are sitting in positions of power that haven't been there before. And despite this intense year, a lot of good has come from it. People are recognizing things within them that they think they can change and do better. So keep going. Don't give up. And in a good way, do better. I mean that from the place of, know what you're good at, know that you're capable at your core, but always say, okay, can I do better? Because that comes in handy to keep you open-minded and keep you staying curious and keep you believing that there's more out there. Because life can be really intense, as we know, but there's so much to relish in, and there's so much to stay excited for. So keep going, keep staying curious, and do better. I think that's a big one for us. Do better.
I like that. Okay, so two quick questions. I know I said maybe 4 questions, but give me your favorite quote. You had referenced a couple of really good ones earlier on, but I'm sure you have another one that drives you. And then maybe a book that you've read recently that you can recommend to some of our listeners.
Sure. I will go back to my girl, Maya Angelou, because she's been speaking to me a lot lately. And one of my favorite things that she says, and I wrote it down so I don't mess it up. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I love it. Thanks. It gets me going. And then a book that I love is the book We Should All Be Feminists. And I grabbed it because it's this great little book.
Oh, okay. I'm going to write that down.
Yes, it's I'm so, forgive me for the poor pronunciation, but Shimamanda Ngozi Adichie, I believe is how you say her name, and she's written a few, but it's a simple, small little read told in a wonderful manner. You can read it on a flight in 20 minutes, and you can read it on a subway or on a bus or sitting in a park by yourself, because we are being conscious of the pandemic, and at your house as well. It's a great little read. Highly recommend it.
Well, thank you for that, because I haven't heard of that, but I wrote it down, and I will definitely put it on my book list to tackle.
Yes, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, we need to have like a book club or something at some point. That would be fun. We could do that like within the network.
We would love it. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for giving us your time, and thank you for all you do for women in soccer. And thanks to all the listeners for listening to Women Talking Soccer. I hope you enjoyed listening to Rachel. And Rachel, again, thank you for connecting, inspiring, and helping to empower women on and off the field.
Carrie, you rock. Thank you for being who you are. We are so lucky to have you.
Thanks, Rach. Appreciate you.